Boom!
Pop!
Pow! Welcome to the Point Taken Podcast, the only podcast. I'm here with my good friend Anna.
Hey.
And today we had on, I almost said Candace. We had Karina and Brandon on today to talk about communication. It's important to know people's names when you communicate.
Yeah.
We talked about communication. We talked about different methods and techniques Karina has used as a teacher. Brandon has used as teaching the communication/marriage class here at Whitten. Anna and I were slightly useful, but it was mostly about Brandon and Karina. We looked at a few examples in Scripture. Specifically, if you want to go ahead and get your Bible in Ephesians chapter 4. With that, Anna, what else did we cover today?
I cried, but you have to stick around to the end of the episode to see why.
Well, I feel like the second half of the episode was much better than the first, so I think you need to stick around.
So? Yeah, stick around for the whole thing.
The second half was better, is what I'm saying.
But stick around for the whole thing.
What you heard me say was the first half was bad. What I in fact said was the second half was better.
It's better.
See, everyone who just listened to that got the reference. All right, love you guys. Let's get into the podcast. All right, communication. What does that mean?
Wow.
We don't know. That's why we brought on Brandon and Karina.
Yes.
And communication. First off, no one can spell it.
You can't spell it.
You
can't spell it.
Yes, I can.
Go.
C.
Oh, she's right.
U-N.
Hold on.
You must be.
ICATION.
Yes. Thank you.
just helped her.
Yes.
She
Because
can't
you
just-
distracted
Look how
me.
red her face is. She was so distracted.
I'm not a good
Your ears
speller.
are red. You're
I'm
so
not a
you're so
good
nervous about it.
Look at my ears.
Communication. One of the primary problems we have in relationship building, relationship keeping, in relationships in general, all relationships, is communication. So it is very unique and very fun, very interesting to look at how Jesus communicated with people while he was here, and we'll turn to that in a minute. But first, we need to get started with some definitions, some examples, some ways to do it, some ways not to do it. So today we have Karina Wilson, Brandon Workman, who taught a marriage class which began as a communications class.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't want to exaggerate.
Couple years ago?
3 years ago? Is that an exaggeration? Yeah, 3 years ago. And Karina, who talks second most of anyone at this church. First is a tie with Tim Nichols and Mike Freeman, obviously. So really third.
Really,
if you
I did not see that coming, but okay.
You're saying Tim is not first place? Brother Tim is absolutely. We couldn't do a podcast with him without it being 5 hours. It's impossible.
That's why we haven't invited him on. Is that what you're saying?
No, it's 'cause-
That's
Jade's gotten up here.
Ouch.
All right, come on. Okay. All right, we are working on an elevator. We're just trying to find one for a cheaper price.
About that.
So, Karina, can we start with a definition and what it takes to communicate?
Yes, I think it is really important that you know what communication is, because a lot of people will say, I communicated with them because I talked, because I told them how I felt, so therefore I communicated. But communication is actually transferring the information. So I can transfer this to you. I can be willing to do it, but if you're not willing to take it, right, then it has not been transferred. And that's how it is with communication. So you can say it and say it beautifully, but if the other person is not listening to you and they're not taking in the information, then you have not communicated with them. So it is not trying to make somebody agree with your viewpoint. It is getting them to hear your perspective. So you're transferring what you're feeling, how you see it, and all of that. Your job is not to try to convince them to agree with you or anything like that. It's simply transferring that information.
You know, I lose count. There's so many wisdom givers at the church. I lose count of who said this first. Probably Brandon, maybe Pastor Jeff. Seek to understand before you seek to be understood. It's like when you just said you transfer it. If my goal is to seek to understand before I'm seeking for you to understand me, that's that transference. Because then I'm not just speaking to be right, or however you just worded it.
Right.
Go ahead.
Because there has to be a speaker and a listener. And I think that it's more common for people to speak, and it's a lot less common for people to hear. And the Bible tells us to be quick to hear, slow to speak, slow to anger.
James
right?
1.
Thank you. So I think that people are more in the habit of listening for the opportunity to say what they want to say rather than listening for the point of understanding what the other person is saying.
Yeah,
Can I share?
they're waiting for their opportunity to talk.
Yeah.
there you
Can,
go.
can I share that verse? It was actually a retreat verse last year. This was actually a retreat theme, or women's retreat theme last year. So still pretty fresh. But Proverbs 18:2 says, "A fool does not delight in understanding, but only wants to show off his opinions."
Oh, read that again.
A
Right?
fool does not delight in understanding, but only wants to show off his opinions.
Fool does
Brandon,
not
you just said that.
Does not delight in understanding,
but only once.
to show off his
opinions.
opinions.
You know, Proverbs is one of those books you can read all the Proverbs like 1,000 times, and then you reread them like, oh, that was in there? I missed that one. Because it's
Yeah.
Yes.
Hey,
It
'cause you-
depends on where you are in your life.
Yeah.
well, you know,
Because
because
you can skim over stuff.
it's
it's
one
like
of the
as a fun-
few books in the Bible where the verse numbers are not arbitrary. Because they are individual
Thought by
proverbs.
thought.
Right.
It's actually one of the few books of the Bible where it's, hear this word, almost impossible to take it out of context because each one is an individual proverb.
Yeah.
Right.
Anyway, hey, thank you for sharing
Makes
that. That was a good
sense.
one. All right, so my man Brandon, communication. What are some of the main things that someone needs to keep in mind? Like if they feel, hey, I need to communicate this to somebody. What are some of the main things they need to keep in mind when going into that?
That's a whole rabbit trail in and of itself. I think that anybody that has ever heard me talk about it would know that I'm a huge advocator of being a student of yourself and being a student of your spouse, if we're talking about a marriage setting, but being a student of other people. I think in line with what Miss Karina was saying, communication being comprehension, if you don't know how to communicate the information properly to a person in a way that they can understand, then you're going to be going in circles. And I think that's one of the reasons why so many people have frustrating conversations is because one or more parties is not communicating in a way the other can understand. One or more parties is just trying to make their opinions known and not listening to what the other person is saying. Or there's strong emotion involved where people get defensive and things like that, which we can go into later if you like. But I think being a student of yourself and being a student of other people is incredibly important. If you're not introspectively honest with yourself and who you are and the way you do things, the way that you communicate or the way that you understand your love languages or whatever, your personality traits, whether they be positive or negative, and if you're not honest with yourself about those things, then you can't grow as an individual. You're not going to, when somebody comes to you with accountability or when somebody comes to you with correction, you're going to have some sort of defense. You're going to have some sort of deflection. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And if other people, the opposite to that is if you're trying to go to somebody else and they're not that way, like they're not self-aware enough, honest with themselves enough, they're not going to receive that accountability or that correction or that mentorship,
Right.
So I think being a student of yourself and being a student of your spouse or a student of other people is incredibly important.
Would you say that you've always been a good student of self?
No.
Recent phenomenon?
I think that it fluctuates just like everything in life, right? I think there are days or weeks or months where I'm incredibly introspective. I'm thinking about everything that I do all the time. And I'm thinking about everything other people are doing all the time. I'm trying to figure out why they do it that way or why I do it that way or whatever. And then there are moments where I'm obsessing about watches or deer hunting or motorcycles, and I'm not thinking
Right.
about anything except for those things. You know what I mean? And It goes up and down, but I don't think I spent half of my life probably just going through life willy-nilly, not really focusing on reasons why or who I am as an individual or anything like that. Just doing what feels good rather than, why I'm doing things the way I'm doing them.
You know, Jesus, at one point in the Gospel of John, I think it's early on, chapter 2 or 3, there was a bunch of crowds following him to watch him do his next magic trick or whatever in their mindset. And I'm going to misquote it a little bit, but it was something to the effect of they followed him and they believed on him not for salvation, but like that he could do that he could do in their mind, he could do signs from God. He was a prophet. But the Bible says Jesus did not entrust himself to them because he knew what was in man. So now obviously he's a perfect student of others, and even student he created. But I feel like the most mature Christians, and I that phrase Brandon seared in my brain 3 years ago, student of self, are excellent students of self. For example, Pastor Jeremiah has told a story often about a man was talking with another man, and his 14-year-old son was walking off somewhere far off into the woods or whatever with a girl. He said, "Nope, y'all come back over here." And they came back. And the other guy was like,
They didn't even do
"Why?
anything.
Do you not trust your son?"
Nope.
And he goes, "No." He goes, "Why do you not trust your son?" He goes, "Because I don't trust his father." Referring to himself, obviously, right? In other words, given enough opportunity with no accountability, everyone has a fall point.
For sure.
Everyone. So if you just remove the opportunity to be in those fall points, it's not your will that's keeping you there. It is the discipline of the life you have created around you. There's never an opportunity, right? I think I've said this on here before. If someone were to ask me, would you ever steal from this place, this church? No. If they said, is there ever an opportunity, is there ever a scenario where you would? Probably. But I won't know because I'll never be in that position to do that.
Right.
In other words,
That's such a loaded question.
yeah, but I think what I mean by that is, let's say that Anna counted all the money by herself every Sunday. No one ever checked behind her. Every Sunday, week in, week out,
Because there's no accountability.
week after week, month after month, year after year, and no one ever checks behind her. The only thing keeping her from doing that is her own self-will. But if there are boundaries in place where there's always 4 people in the room or whatever, well then she'll never have to have that tested because she'll never be tested in that way.
Right.
So when I heard you start using that phrase a few years ago, student of self, that's the kind of mindset I thought of. In other words, if I know me well enough to know if I make scenarios where I'm never in scenarios where I could fall in that way, then I'll always be protected. You may not have intended. That was my takeaway. Not that I was ever counting the money by myself or Anna.
No, I don't want to do anything with money,
Yeah.
like at all.
I always have told my children, and I tell my students this: your flesh is not stronger than anybody else's. Like, if you have that idea that you could put yourself in this situation because you would never do that, that's just not true of anybody. My flesh is not any stronger than anybody else's. It's just a matter of having a healthy understanding of that. I'm not going to put myself in that situation.
That brings up, going back to a few minutes ago, for both of you, either one. Both of you described communication as if it's talking to someone you already know, student of others. Communication with strangers, does it look any different or is it the same mindset?
I think it depends on what the topic is. If it's just a benign conversation between 2 people, then it doesn't really matter. But if you're trying to witness to others,
Yeah.
right? That is not a benign conversation. That's not a hi and bye, right? You are entering into a very intimate space with that person. I think at that point, even though you don't know them, you for sure need to be paying attention to their cues. I mean, you know, their body language, the words that they use, their tone of voice, things like that. When you're looking for those types of things that are very face value, it can help you and guide you to the different avenues of communication that you might need to take to get your point across to that person, or to communicate what you're trying to communicate to that person.
Different avenues.
Yeah, so I don't really know what that means. I just know that it's correct.
That was awesome. Like you were
Well,
talking about
I
if someone
love it.
looks angry or looks like they're listening, or
No, what I'm trying to say is we're all different. We're all individuals, and we all communicate differently. And one of the things I say in my class is you can't raise children the same. I don't know anything about kids. I don't have an opinion about kids because apparently, since I don't have any kids, I don't know anything about them. So
I
I'm not,
disagree with
I
that.
was about to say,
I
I'm
not,
disagree
you know,
with that.
I don't have the authority to
Yeah.
say anything about
Yeah,
children.
but if I'm
But you
not a
can't raise-
pilot, but I can tell you when someone's landing a plane wrong when it's.
You can't raise kids the same
That's true.
because they're individuals.
Sure.
You can't discipline kids the same. You can't.
You don't have kids, but you were a kid.
Sure.
And you were different than your brothers. So you can gather a lot of information just from that.
Sure.
And just because you haven't done something doesn't mean
That
you
was-
can't
we
get
don't gotta talk
wisdom
about
from
that. It was all a joke.
That's what
I
Pastor
know,
said.
but I'm just saying what
So-
you're saying now goes along with that.
When you are talking about different avenues that a person could take to try to communicate something to somebody, you've got your way of doing it. You've got different ways of doing it that you might choose for your wife or your father or one of your brothers, but you've got this stranger and you don't really know how they receive communication.
Right.
You've got to figure out in the moment which tool you want to pull out of your tool bag to try to talk to them. I tried to teach Hank something one day, and it was maddeningly frustrating.
His nephew. How old is he? 10?
I think he's
For context?
I think he's 11.
11.
He's probably 9 at the time, and I love Hank. I would burn this place down for Hank or Gus or for Jameson Burkett. I'm telling you, dude.
Those are the three.
Love
Those are
them.
good three.
Anyway, it took me about 20 minutes to try to figure out how to communicate the information to this 9-year-old in a way that he could understand. And once I figured it out,
He got it.
we had success. But I had to push through that 20 minutes. It took me a minute to figure out which avenue I needed to take. That's kind of a vague answer to your question, but
But I think, okay, in Ephesians chapter 4, I probably should have turned there. In Ephesians chapter 4, he says, he's comparing how people used to be before they were Christians and how they are now. You know what? It's a long form podcast. We can turn to it. You see what I use that phrase there? You see that? That's
Wow.
because it's not a short. Though he might make shorts out of this. You see
chapter
that?
4,
Ephesians 4. I'm going to find it.
let me just read the whole thing.
No, sir. I want you to
Is it
read.
17?
Can you read 25 through 32?
Yep. Since you put away lying, speak truth, each one to his neighbor, because we are members of one another. Be angry and do not sin. Do not let the sun go down on your anger, and do not give the devil an opportunity. The thief must no longer steal. Instead, he must do honest work with his own hands, so that he has something to share with anyone in need. No foul language is to come out of your mouth. Sorry, Mom. But only what is good for building up someone in need, so that it gives grace to those who hear. And do not grieve. Did I get that right? Hang on a second.
Yeah.
And do not grieve God's Holy Spirit. You were sealed by him for the day of redemption. All bitterness and anger and wrath, shouting and slander must be removed from you. Sorry, people of Witten. Along with all malice. Oh, it hurts. And be kind and compassionate to one another, forgiving one another just as God has forgiven you. Ouch.
So
That's just
if you notice,
Thanks a lot.
if you notice the pattern Paul's producing here, that he's communicating to us, he
right.
keeps doing this comparison of before and after. So before you were a thief, verse 28, now share with everything you got and make honest work with your hands. Before, corrupting talk came out of your mouth, but now only that for which is good for building up as it fits the occasion. The occasion. So that passage, that little verse right there has always struck me. No corrupting talk, only that which is good for building up. Well, that, it says as it fits the occasion. So Paul is saying that will change based on the person. I mean, it says right there, as it fits the occasion. So there are some things that I could say to Brandon that would not tear him down. That'd
Right.
be like, hey, bro, you know. But if I said them to Ryder Burkett, it would absolutely tear him down. You know, there are some things. He's a teenage guy. Maybe that's a bad example, but I think you get the point I'm getting at. In other words, there are some things, a way we speak, that for that occasion would be tearing down. Where in
Yes.
reality, that's not my intention. But that would be how that person would
Receives
interpret it.
it. Yeah.
It has to do, I think, also with personalities. One thing that we have done in our family, I have 3 kids, and we took a family vacation this summer, and we ended up all doing personality tests while we were on our family vacation.
It's like,
And-
this makes so much
Brenda
sense.
We-
is
You are
such a mom. This
does.
woman is
You're
such
always
a
doing
mom.
personality
You went on
plan
vacation
it.
and did personality
no,
test?
I didn't
What
plan it.
category are you in? Yes, you did. No,
No, honestly,
I did not
didn't.
just read about lying.
No, I did not plan it, but it's something that I teach my students.
Uh-huh.
And Kendall, her personality was showing so strongly because we did their birds. So there's an
Oh,
eagle.
yeah.
We did it on
This is what
the
the women
women's
did.
retreat.
Yeah.
So
All those
Kendall,
Rebecca Dillon came back and said, "Caca."
she's a parrot, and they don't say that. But okay,
That's
That's what
perfect
they keep
for someone who
saying.
talks a lot.
that's right.
Yeah, isn't it?
So Kendall's personality is an eagle personality, which is a more
Dominant.
dominant personality. They tell you like it is.
Was
They're more
Sharquita an
blunt. Oh,
Yes.
she is also.
Yes.
She and Kendall, great big eagles.
Yes.
What am I?
So, well,
It's
you
a-
haven't taken it,
It's
but
a
I could
disc.
think
It's the
about it.
disc
What would I be?
assessment.
I don't care about what it is.
So you
I wanna
can
know
take
what
it and
bird I
figure
am.
out what
I'm
you
asking
are.
what I
Peregrine
am.
falcon.
Tell me
Okay.
right now.
Owl.
Well, I will tell you about the birds quickly.
Yeah. some context.
The eagle is the dominant personality. They are blunt. They so
That's not
they're
me.
they tend to be a little bossy, right?
Not at all.
So they do not tend to be super emotional or anything like that. They kind of everything you would say about Sharquita would be she is a big eagle, right? So Kendall, she would get up in the morning. We're on vacation. We have plans, but she gets up and she's like, "Why are you just sitting there eating breakfast? We're supposed to be at the
no.
water park at this amount of time."
Look,
That is her.
unless you are stronger than me.
Is she
back up.
married?
That's it.
And Dalton, and Dalton's personality is, why don't we get to enjoy our vacation?
Let's wake
Like,
up at noon.
That's right.
This is what vacation
What?
is.
Right.
Just sleep in.
But
and
with
relax.
Kendall, I could communicate to her. I could call her and say, "Hey, the way you handled that was not good," or whatever. I could say something to her, speak hard truth to her. It is not going to crush her world. I do not have to go about it in a really
No,
soft
absolutely.
way, anything like that, right? And it's been that way since she was little. And that just has to do with her personality. My boys, on the other hand, and my future daughter-in-law, that is not their personality. They are more doves. So a dove is
Eagle.
What sound does a dove make?
I'm thinking a quail. Like, ho, ho, ho,
This is
ho.
important to the podcast.
Bird
What
calling.
sound does
no a dove.
There,
A
then
dove
put it in
is
the
more of
microphone.
a.
No, she's got it right.
She's right. Yeah.
I can
She's a
bird
bird.
call.
Give an expert. Let's just get everyone.
Parrots don't say cacaw.
Well, I wasn't saying. I was saying eagle.
Okay. Eagles don't say that either, I don't believe.
Just let me have my one win.
Doves tend to be quieter.
Okay.
They tend to. I haven't looked at this recently, so if any of this pops into your head, they tend to. Oh, they want everybody to get along. They're about harmony, right? Okay, so an eagle is about getting the job done. Your dad is an eagle.
Yes.
Getting the job done, doing it right. They do not want all the details. They want you to, what's the point of what you're saying when they're talking to you? Whereas a dove, they're more about how are you feeling? What headspace are you in when you're talking to them, right? They want everybody to get along. A parrot is more about, let me tell you a story that has to do with what you're going through. I know y'all can't guess what I am. And then the owl is more about, is what you're saying accurate? Which I think you probably have a lot of owl in you. An owl analyzes things. Marty is an owl.
I think
They analyze things. They're a lot more logical.
I think Pastor Josiah is probably more akin to a pigeon.
I think he's an eagle owl.
So
That's
the doves are the
respect
peace, harmony, and kindness, and the owls are wisdom,
We only get
analytical,
4
and
birds
smart.
to pick from.
That's retarded.
Yeah, there's only 4 categories
There's 4
for
categories.
DISC. They stand for, what is it? Where is it?
I love that.
This is like the women's version of the
So
INFJ,
the point
INFT.
is,
No, it's more
test.
corporate. It's for corporate. A lot of corporate companies.
I don't want to talk about corporate. We need to move on.
the point is, it helps you when you communicate
Yeah.
with somebody to have an idea of what their personality is,
Okay.
and how they process things, how that type of
What
thing.
you're getting
right?
at is right here when it says "as the occasion fits." What you're
Right.
getting is what Brandon said. Hey, Kendall, get to freaking work.
Right.
Hey, Dalton, when you get on it, come on, buddy.
Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
Yeah.
right.
Okay. Okay.
Because you don't want to lose your listener,
Mm-hmm.
right? And if the person feels disrespected, then they're going to be struggling with anger, right? They're going to struggle with hearing
I
you.
want to show you how well I'm a student of you.
Okay,
Before any of that you just spouted out,
right.
I would have bet a lot of money that you did some type of personality test with your students, and I would have been right because I know you very well.
Yeah.
Very good.
I've
You're
seen-
right.
Teacher.
Well, I was
You're
too.
right.
And being a high school teacher in the language department, I worked with almost all females.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so one year you're going to be very disappointed in what's about to happen.
Okay.
I don't know if it's going to change my bird,
Okay.
but
No,
uh,
I don't think so.
No.
they all
think he
wanted
probably
to
has a lot
do
of
the
ego.
personality test one day for class, and I said, I am not doing that.
Okay. And what was your reasoning?
What was my reason?
I think you can be more than one.
I think this
You can
is
try
a
differently.
waste of time. That was my reasoning.
Okay.
It is my mind. It is February. I have known my students for 8 months. I already know them. I already know where we're at.
But
Why-
they don't know themselves a lot of times. Being a student of yourself,
Yeah.
that was to me the most beneficial thing was
Listen,
for people
I
them to
get
see each
Karina.
other.
No, I think if Karina did it, I would be like, hey, what bird am I? I think if Josiah did this, I'd be like,
Oh,
who cares?
who cares?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hey, look,
I can see that.
Karina called me an owl. I can handle it.
Yeah,
So,
wisdom, analytical.
I can't stay
smart.
up late though, and they're nocturnal. Aren't owls nocturnal?
Yes, they are.
They are
It's
nocturnal,
not.
but this isn't about that.
You said
This is about the fact
I don't eat
what
mice.
you're doing right now.
Analytical.
All of these conversations
Over
that you
analytical.
have, where you say,
they have good
But
eyesight. I
where
don't.
you say,
don't.
but
Blind.
Karina, are you consistent all the way through? That is such an owl thing to say.
Every
What?
time you say that, it just sounds
You're
so
such an
ridiculous.
owl.
I get it. It just sounds so ridiculous.
Such an owl thing.
Oh my
to
gosh,
say.
you're such an owl.
You're
Oh my
such an
gosh, do
owl.
not-
Isn't
I'm
that
gonna keep doing that.
isn't that true? Is that how you word it? You'll say, I'll say something and you'll go, but Karina,
So
are you consistent all the way through? Is that what you say? How you word that?
I don't know.
You know what I'm talking about?
I do. All I know is Brandon Workman gained respect for me when he realized sometimes I do that just to mess with people. Karina's not one of those people, and I am not going to threaten that respect. So right now, it's always a joke, but it's not always a joke.
It's always a joke.
So
Are you talking about the consistent all the way through?
he said one time on the podcast, talking with Pastor Josiah is like playing
Chess with a pigeon.
chess with a pigeon. That's what he says. Like, yeah.
Trying to talk.
Oh my God.
Trying to have a debate with Pastor Josiah is like playing chess with a pigeon.
Okay.
Right? It doesn't matter how good at chess you are or how strategic your gameplay is. All he's going to do is walk all over the board, probably poop on it, and then fly away.
Knock over the pieces.
That's
Right.
correct.
It
Right.
reminds me. There's a comedian who does a great job with this.
So he's a pigeon.
President
You're
Trump's
right.
first debate, when everyone else was prepared with their regular pre-scripted debate speeches, and he goes, "Wrong."
They didn't know what to do about it.
And then everyone in the crowd's like, "Yeah, he's right." And they said 6.5% of this wrong, and it worked. I mean, it worked. Oh man, the next
Oh
joke
my
I can't
gosh.
Yeah. Let's
So-
keep it.
say. So, communication.
So we were talking about the
Wait.
different birds.
Yeah. So with that, Jesus, if you note, I think you would all agree there is a pattern if you just stop and think about it for a minute. Talking about parents, his standard never changes for anyone. His standard is the same, like a parent
Right.
with kids. His
Right.
method of getting them to that standard does.
Yep.
His standard is the exact same for everyone. You will reach this standard. This is the
Right.
standard. I'm not lowering it for anybody. This is the
Right.
standard. So the standard is to do this. Everyone's going to do that. The way I tell you to do it will change. So Jesus with an unbeliever who has no revelation of the scripture, doesn't know, you see this in the scriptures. He is much more gentle
Right.
than with a teacher of the Bible who has been teaching for 40 years.
Oh, I think,
Right.
when he came across people that he knew weren't going to get it because of their hard hearts or for whatever the reason, he wouldn't waste his time with them any more than he had to.
Yeah. And you notice, I've said this before, and especially if there's anyone listening to this that's one of those, how do I say it? They think being nice is the most important thing a Christian can do.
Instead of telling the truth.
Yeah, the scriptural word is kindness. There's a difference between nice and kind. Nice makes people feel good. Kindness is always pure intentions of your heart for somebody else. Sometimes kindness involves saying things to people they don't want to hear. Niceness always tells people what they want to hear. If they walk away saying that person's nice, that's okay if it was in true kindness. But if you have only ever been nice to people and no one has ever thought you'd be unnice, you may want to think why. But my point is this: Jesus was kind. And Matthew 23, I think if there are many Christians in the world right now that if you took the words of that and you didn't say it was from the Bible and you just showed people the words, they would say whoever said that is mean-spirited and hateful and not a Christian, even though it was the Lord Jesus. Because
Said what exactly?
you brood of vipers, how will you
Oh,
escape the
okay.
damnation of hell?
Right.
Weeping and gnashing of teeth, like stuff like that. My favorite one, because these are people, he's speaking to the Pharisees and Sadducees, who should have known better. They have been reading and teaching his word for their whole lives. This is not a byword unbeliever in a bad situation on the side of the road who doesn't even know any better, where Jesus would speak to them differently.
Right.
In this scenario, he says at one point, you travel across land and sea to find one convert. And when you find him, you make him twice as much the child of hell as he was before you met him.
Right.
He's twice as fit for hell as before you met him.
Yes.
So I think
Because you put a lot of rules on him that you are not following,
exactly right.
and
So-
he cannot follow.
Yeah, so in Matthew 23, I think that's a perfect example. Jesus speaks that way directly to them, whereas a woman he just met caught in adultery, or a lame man, or even his disciples. You look at the beginning and the end of his ministry. The beginning, he's much more gentle, but there it was.
There it goes.
By the end, he's like, "Y'all still not get it? Like,
Right.
what are we doing here?"
Right.
So yeah, I think that part in Ephesians where it's talking about as the occasion fits, student of others, I took a lot away from that.
I think obviously what I'm about to say is silly to say, but I think Jesus was the ultimate student of others.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't remember when I heard this, and I talk about it all the time because it blows my mind. Even now, it just blows the top of my head off. Jesus could look at somebody and know everything about them from the time they were born to the time they're going to die.
Yeah.
He knew every hardship they were going through. He knew every struggle they were going through.
Every tear they ever cried.
Everyone,
tear they're going
right?
through.
Every success they had, everything. He knew everything. In a lot of ways, I hesitate to say this. I think in a lot of ways, with that knowledge, it would be easier to have grace for somebody.
Mm-hmm.
It would be easier to show mercy to somebody. It would be easier to communicate to somebody because you know everything there is to know. You know exactly how to approach that person.
Yeah.
But with us, it's a constant struggle. It is for me to try to show grace to somebody.
And be kind and compassionate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I want retribution.
Because we're battling our flesh.
Sure.
We're battling
Yeah,
our
whatever you want
flesh
to call
all the
it.
time. So when we go to communicate, we have to not try to communicate in the middle of high emotion and things like that, because if we communicate in the middle of high emotion, we're going to end up
In the gunfight.
losing. Right, we're going to lose.
You get sucked into the
Our
gunfight just like I
listener.
did this afternoon.
Yep.
right.
You get defensive. You get defensive about it. You immediately start trying to prove your point rather than listening to
Understand.
correct, listening to understand.
You
rather
become
than
aggressive. Your communication is aggressive, right?
it was this afternoon for sure.
Right. Aggressive
So guilty.
is simply not respecting the listener. Like when I was teaching this, that to me that really stood out to me. That aggressive communication is when you do not show respect to the listener. Because a lot of times we think, well, I'm angry and I'm right. Right?
Oh, okay, so-
they don't deserve my respect. Well, okay, they may not deserve your respect. However, if you are, hold on. If they may not deserve your respect in that you feel like you're right and they're wrong. But if you want them to hear what you're saying, then you need to come at them in a respectful way, or else you're going to lose them as a listener, because they are just going to be being defensive, and they're going to be in that mode of, I think of it like if it was my job to transfer these water bottles to him and I walked in and just started chunking them at him. Even if he was willing, he's going to be in a defensive mode. It's the same thing with our words. If you do not come at it in a way where they're going to be able to sit and listen, if they're in a defensive mode because you come in with a bunch of you statements, if you always do this, you never do that, or you come in with getting in their personal space, because anytime you come in and you get up in somebody's face, they're going to be defensive. If you are cussing at them, if you're calling names, if you're screaming and yelling, any of that, you have made it almost impossible for them to truly listen and understand what you're saying. And if your goal is to just vent your anger at whatever cost, well, then you succeeded. But if your goal was to communicate, then you did not, because you don't have a listener.
Well, you communicated all the wrong things.
Yeah.
Right,
You didn't
But you-
communicate what you wanted to.
right. And you damaged right? You're causing damage to the other person. So the things that we tend to do that we don't want to do, the things that lose a listener are aggressive, passive, which is where we don't speak at all. And I was raised by a parent who did this. I was raised by an aggressive and a passive. And the passive would always say, well, I'm just trying to keep the peace. And as I got older, I'm like, well, whose peace? Because I don't recall experiencing any of that.
Yeah.
Seemed to me the
Yeah.
only person who had peace was the aggressive person, you know, so he got to say and scream and yell and do whatever he wanted to do, and there were no consequences for that whatsoever
As it should
for
be.
him. And then it was called keeping the peace because we all just tiptoed around that.
Yep.
Where to me, it was, I later called it feeding the monster.
Yeah.
It just made him stronger, it just made him do that all the more. So, passive is when you feel like either it's not going to do any good to say it, your opinion doesn't matter as much as other people hear, so you're just going to keep your mouth shut, all of that. That's passive. And then passive aggressive is when you decide, I'm not going to go directly to, I'm upset with Josiah, I'm not going to go directly to Josiah and talk to him about it. I'm going to hold it in, but then we're going to sit here and Josiah says something and I'm going, well, that's typical. You know, I'm going to just take a little jab, or I'm going to walk in and greet everybody but him. And I'm going to do the silent treatment, which a lot of people are familiar with. That's all passive aggressive. What you want to aim for is assertive, which is going directly to the person, being honest with how you feel, letting them know how that made you feel and what they could do, what you would like them to do in the future, right? So what I teach my students is there's a statement. So you'd say, when you said that, I felt disrespected. You know, in the future, I'd appreciate it if you would, whatever. And just being assertive about it, going directly to the person rather than letting it build to a place where you're aggressive or passive aggressive.
Just
We
make
just-
mental notes.
She said a few things that I disagree with. She was speaking for specific scenarios. I was thinking more along general scenario lines. So I don't have any rebuttal.
No, what do you disagree with? I'm just curious.
I
Do
think
you
that-
think there's a time to be aggressive? Is that because I think that's where you were disagreeing when we were talking about being aggressive?
I think that no matter what you're doing in a situation, you're communicating something. I think there are
Body
scenarios.
language.
Yes, body language,
Ooh,
tone of
that's
voice,
so-
Yeah.
and words.
That's true.
Right.
And if you are not communicating in a proper way, as detailed by Miss Karina, you are communicating the wrong thing, which I've done a lot. And you can learn from that, right? You can learn from yourself and your spouse or whoever can learn from that, but it usually takes a conversation afterwards. So I'm not going to disagree with anything that she said. She said everything good and well done.
You know, what Brandon said, his point about you're always communicating something because of body language, tone, facial expressions, whatever. That is absolutely accurate.
Man, I was
Right.
talking to somebody today, and they were sitting on a couch, and it was a female. She had a pillow on her lap. She had her arms like over that, and then her
Oh.
legs crossed. I'm like,
Oh.
she is
Closed
uncomfortable
Yeah.
because I've never talked to this person like in depth before. So I'm like, I noted that. I'm like, okay, she's uncomfortable. What can I do
Sure.
to communicate that?
Sure.
The majority of our communication
It's body language.
is nonverbal. It is.
I mean, without a doubt.
We're constantly. I had a percentage when I taught it. There's a percentage. I don't remember off the top of my head, so I'm not going to quote it, but it's high. The amount that we do that's nonverbal.
So I want everybody that's listening to this to hear me. You got to be careful with nonverbal communication as you receive it from somebody else. You don't know what's going on in the mind of that individual. That nonverbal communication is going to be translated to you and however you receive it. If you have a high degree of insecurities, you're going to receive it a certain way. If you have good boundaries, you might receive it a different way.
Right.
And I'm going to give you an example real quick. And this is an example that I talk about in my class. I do not like, let me say it again. I do not like for Sarah to fix anything in the house. Just leave it alone. But Sarah likes to fix stuff because she likes to make everything around her better. And I think that is an admirable quality for everybody to have. One of the things that she wants to fix is the back patio, and she's still going on about the back patio.
So we're
I've been
talking
on
about like
that one for 2 years.
yeah.
We have been,
She's
and
still moving the bricks.
it's still not fixed either because I
I
rule
tried
the
that.
house.
I tried that.
rule the roost, right? I'm the king of my castle,
I
and I say
apologize. I tried that.
no fixing the back patio. All right, so we're being silly here. So she was talking about I'm going to mess this up because I'm not a concrete guy. She was talking about regrouting some of the decorative brick that goes around the outside edge of the patio. And I told her no. I said, don't do that. Just leave it alone. We're either going to hire somebody to come in and fix it right? We are not bricklayers. We are not masonries. We are not concrete guys and gals. We're going to fix it, and it's going to look like two novices did it, which I don't like. Or we can hire somebody to come out and fix it, which we're not going to pay for. So just leave it alone. That's my mindset. So I come
And
home.
she's like, no.
Listen. So I come home one day. I learned a lot in this one little scenario that I'm about to detail. I'm getting long-winded.
That's fine.
But anyway, I come home one day. I walk into the kitchen. I look through our big back window that looks into the backyard, and I see her, and she is down on her knees, and she is regrouting the brick. After I have told her not to, that is direct disobedience of the leadership of my household. Let me just put that out there. So I immediately got mad. I mean, like, for real.
You
Like,
felt disrespected.
no. Nothing so appropriate as that. I just got mad because I told her not to do it, and she's out there doing it. And so I got up. I was standing up. I didn't get up. I went around through the living room and out the back door, and I opened the back door aggressively, and I stood there and I looked at her, and I was going to say, what are you doing? I told you I didn't want you messing with the brick. All right, so just try to imagine my facial expression. That's what's in my mind. The second that I walked outside, other Brandon goes, hey, just chill out. She wants to fix the brick. What's wrong with that? Just let her fix it. She does things differently than you. It's okay to let her do things.
Us.
Right, than us. My bad. He's talking to me directly, so
Yeah, the two
that's
of
why
us.
he didn't speak in pluralities. Anyway, she does things different than you, and that's okay. Let her do things the way she wants to do them. And I didn't say anything, but I stood there for a second while I was having this inner dialogue.
And your
she-
face was
He's
saying
short
things.
circuiting.
So
She's reading your...
correct. There was a brief moment where I was standing there, and my facial expression and my body language was still communicating my frustration and my anger. But I didn't say anything because I was thinking about it, and then I turned around and I went inside. Because it was okay for her to do that. It was okay for her to fix the brick if she wants to. It's her friggin' house. She can do what she wants. I'm not her dad, right? Also, there was no reason for me to not let her do that. And so the point that I'm trying to make here is that Sarah thought she was in trouble. She immediately took my body language and I didn't say anything, but my facial expression and my body language, and it communicated to her exactly what I went out there to communicate to her. But I turned around and I went inside so that I could continue to let her do the things that she wanted to do. Mm-hmm. After the fact, I had to say to her, I'm sorry that I went out there so aggressively. I turned around and I came back inside because it was okay for you to be doing what you were doing, and I didn't want to stop you. In the moment, I couldn't say that because I was still dealing with my emotion. So the point I'm trying to make here is that you've got to be careful with communicating nonverbal communication from somebody, receiving nonverbal communication from somebody. Really pay attention to their actions in this situation, turning around and leaving and not saying anything about it. Ultimately, though, you don't know what's going on in somebody's mind. I need all the ladies to hear me here. You don't know what's going on in your husband's mind, okay? Just ask him, hey, what's going on? It's okay. You can ask questions. We will try to answer them as best we can. Men, also, if you don't know what's going on with your lady, go ask her. She will tell you. Quit assuming, okay? Nothing but poor negative things comes from an assumption. Just ask the question.
Get your answer.
Yes, thank you. Get your clarity. Grow from it. Have a conversation. Golly.
My husband and I were just having this conversation like over the last couple of weeks or so. We were talking to a couple and they were having some issues. And I'm like, I could fix this if you guys just talk to each other. I was like, I don't understand why that is such like a foreign concept to some people.
Oh, I can tell you why.
You just discuss it with them.
I can tell you exactly why it's a foreign concept. Because their parents never talked to them.
Right.
All right? My father, I love him to death. But my father is not a great communicator. He's not. And I have found, I have seen a lot of things.
That's what my kids say about my husband.
I've seen a lot of things in myself that I have received from my dad that I've had to make efforts to correct. However, women are afraid of the way that their man is going to react. They do not want to come to them because they're afraid of the reaction. They're afraid that he's going to get mad and throw a fit or whatever, they're going to leave. And women, and I'm not trying to pick on ladies here. This is my experience. So I'm not picking on ladies. Women, as emotional creatures, have a tendency to fear the worst. And a lot of women don't want the hellfire retribution to come crashing down on them because they went to their husband and asked a question. And the flip side to that coin, men, is that if you are not paying attention, I've been sitting here this whole time wondering if that was glued down. I'd have bet my paycheck that was glued down. I was not going to reach out and grab it because I knew it was sitting there to mess with people.
We put that there years ago and arguing over who dropped it, and we said, let's see the first person to take it is, and no one's taking it. Since you said flip side of the coin, I had to put it there. Now that you dropped it, you have to put it back. That's the rule.
I didn't drop it.
Is that the rule?
You did drop it. And you have to put it back.
But Brandon, going back on that.
Hold on, I'm not done.
Oh, go.
Sorry. I meant to say, men, if you are making your ladies, whether voluntary or involuntarily, if you are making them feel like they can't come to you, then you are failing as a leader, and you need to check yourself on that. Get rid of your pride, stop being a man-child, and communicate softly and gently, right? Treat them as co-heirs, the way the Bible tells us to treat them as co-heirs.
I have one more, but I'll let you go first.
I was just going to comment on what Brandon said, going off of, like, I don't understand why people just can't communicate, and he made a good point. And I grew up like that, where, like, the dad was the aggressor, mom was passive, the peacekeeper, he was the only one with the peace, like, all of that stuff. And so when my husband and I got together, I remember feeling, like, so afraid to share anything. And then eventually realized that, like, he is not, like my parents. He is calm and gentle. And so that's something I have to be more self-aware of, is that not everyone is married to my husband. And
he is not your ex-boyfriend. He is not your ex-husband.
Right. And that's the thing is,
don't make him pay for their mistakes.
Not your dad.
Right. And that's the thing. And someone asked me, like, well, do you trust him? And I was like, he's never not given me a reason. And kind of the same thing. He's just always been gentle, and that's something that we've worked on for so long, is healthy communication. And we do those marriage questions. You guys have heard me talk about those before on the podcast
those
too.
Are stupid.
And what'd you say?
I said those are stupid.
They're not stupid.
That's a great
They're
idea.
not stupid. They're amazing. But it just opens that line of communication, and like with marriage in particular, the goal is to be brought together. It's not to be divided. You guys are on the same team,
Right.
And so that's
Right.
that is the goal. You are on a united front with the goal.
When you're talking with someone, and Miss Karina said this earlier, and it's so true. Uh, When you're talking with someone, your spouse, and you're in an argument, and it's circular, and you're going round and round, is it more important that you make your point? Is it so important, really, that your point is heard? No.
Good point.
No, it isn't.
Good point.
No, he's right.
Yeah.
I mean, what are you trying to accomplish? Are you trying to win the argument? Nobody wins in an argument. Let me just say that. If you win the argument, your wife loses. If she wins the argument, your husband loses.
Which means you lose.
Yeah, it's a lose-lose situation.
If you're
you're a
not
team.
if you're not growing from it, which is the only reason that you should be communicating is to grow and encourage and build up. If you are trying to make your point heard rather than trying to figure out what the situation is and grow from it, then you are messing up.
Amen. I have one final thought, and then final thoughts for everyone before we close up. This one is mostly for the gentleman. Miss Karina would probably disagree with this one,
Snap.
but
I
I
was so
do.
quick to assume that.
I use the word probably.
Okay.
Still an assumption.
Miss Karina was speaking earlier about assertiveness is positive, aggression is negative, and I think that is correct. I can think of one scenario where there may be an exception to that, and this is only for gentlemen. Brandon just loosely quoted 1 Peter 3, gentlemen, which says, "Live with your wives in an understanding way, showing honor, not pity, showing honor to them as the weaker vessel, since they are heirs with you in the grace of life, so that your prayers will not be hindered." And that is an intimidating passage.
Before you continue, that passage is not a passage to describe women being the weaker vessel. That has nothing to do with women being a weaker vessel. It has everything to do with telling men how to treat their wives.
Yeah.
So don't focus on that part. It is a command for men to treat their wives in a particular way.
Yes. And, we've used the analogy before, fine china in one sense is more fragile but far more valuable. But the onus of the passage is certainly on men and how they are to treat, as Brandon just pointed out. Men with other men who need to pull their head out of their butt. You can be kind and aggressive, not simply assertive, at the same time. Now, I'm not talking about a 6-year-old boy who has no father and it's his first day working outside with a shovel. You know what I'm talking about? But, for example, off the top of my head, let's pretend that there was a 28-year-old man working at the church a few months ago. And
Seems oddly specific.
Yeah. I was like,
the day before, he called me and he mentioned problem A, B, and C, and his answer was, "I don't know what to do." And I said, "Do what? You don't know what to do?" "Yeah, I need work, I need a job, and I don't know what to do." "Where are you right now?" "I'm at home, sitting in a chair." "Get up, walk out your door." He told me where he lived. "Walk down the street and knock on every single door of every business up and down that highway you live on until you get a job and call me back."
Sure.
And that is what he did. And he called me back a few hours later. And we were able actually to use him to do some side work at the church, helping build a fence. And he did a great job. We were able to pay him for that. And I said it, not cursing, but we're certainly with words I would not say to ladies. Yeah, absolutely. I certainly did. He pulled me aside with tears in his eyes. And he goes, "Thank you for telling me like it was. I needed to hear that. I've never had anyone talk to me that way except for people who wanted negative for me. That is the first time I've ever had someone speak to me that way who wanted something positive.
Well,
for
but
me.
there's a time and a place for that.
And, okay.
Right.
So, and I keep pointing and I'm not in Ephesians.
But whatever.
But
it's-
yeah.
The Bible says it's in the Bible.
And it's a very specific.
That was one of those avenues that you
Right.
chose to take to communicate to him in a way he needed to understand.
Yeah. And those situations should be extremely limited and rare. But at any rate, that's kind of my
And I
part.
do not disagree with you on that.
I said probably.
And I'm
But she
I'm
doesn't-
just letting
she's
you know I
confirming.
don't.
I
She
thought
does.
I
She's
thought
just not
she
going to
said the
admit
word-
it on the
No, I
podcast.
Didn't
really
she
don't.
say the word never aggressive? Didn't she use that?
I don't.
Roll it
I
back.
wouldn't.
Roll it back.
I would not define that as aggressive because I defined aggressive as being disrespectful to, and I would not say that you were
Oh,
disrespectful.
So I
would
was
say
also
You're
curious
talking
to know.
firm.
firm with them, but not disrespectful.
I was also curious to know what the definition of aggressive was versus assertive.
Yeah, and I had said it's being
I disagree with Miss
disrespectful.
Karina's definition of aggressive.
You do? You think being disrespectful to the listener is not being aggressive?
I think that you worded that question specifically to put me in a situation where
He's feeling
I wish they
attacked.
were simple.
where I'm going to prove your point. However,
I
no,
ordered what question? That was the
the
definition
question
I
that you
gave.
just asked.
That was the definition I gave.
You did
was
give that
it not?
definition. You did. You did.
That
So-
is-
Brandon's just feeling
definition.
sensitive.
I'm not feeling sensitive. I do not necessarily agree that showing disrespect to. Ooh, I'm about to prove a point. Hold on. I do not necessarily agree that being aggressive is showing disrespect.
It certainly can. It certainly can.
The thing that I am disagreeing with, and she can correct me if I misinterpreted what she said, I disagree with the absolute that always being aggressive is showing disrespect.
Yeah, with her definition, it is because she's saying aggressive is like I'm gonna get out what I gotta say. I don't
Her
care how you
definition
gotta
of
do it.
aggression
Right.
was showing disrespect.
Yeah.
And
Right.
aggressive communication was being disrespectful to the listener,
Okay.
right?
So putting them
As
down.
in, you're not putting them in a situation
Yeah.
where they can.
I hear you because
listen
I
to
didn't
you.
say
You're
things like
in
you
their
can't
space.
do this. You're a piece of I didn't say
Right.
anything like that. I said
No.
you can do this.
Right.
Get up.
But
Yeah.
you said it in a, some may say assertive, some may say more forceful way. That I'm not at all saying. I'm saying aggressive as in disrespectful, as in the way you're acting is shutting them down as a
Right. I hear
listener
that. I hear
where
that.
they're not listening to you anymore.
I guess the only point I'm making is there have been some areas in my life where it did shut them down, but it shouldn't have. They were being too
Sensitive.
Okay, you said final thoughts. That was actually he had made mention about insecurities. Women have a record that plays in their head all the time. Probably men too, maybe. I don't know. I'm not one. But women constantly have a record playing in their head, right? And as a Christian woman, I have to learn to make that be truth from God's word. However,
You need to go
that
into
has
greater
been-
detail about the record.
okay, that has been a real process for me. I'm going to give you an example about the record, okay? There was a time in
Seemed
my
like there was a little
marriage-
bit of sass there. I'm not sure.
No,
I like
no,
that.
No,
sass.
No.
You're reading her body
right.
language too much.
No.
And
there
her
was
tone
no sass.
and
I'm
every
like,
other
I
cue
got
that
you.
did sound
Yeah.
like sass. You're
No.
reading into it too much.
Sure.
It was, I got you. I'm going to
yeah.
give you an example.
Yeah.
My husband and I, there was a time in my life where I had 3 young kids. I was homeschooling them. I was also answering the phone for our company. I had a lot of things going on. And I was also spiritually dealing with a lot of condemnation. So I was at a place where I also had a lot of my self-worth tied up in what kind of mother I was, what kind of housekeeper I was, what kind of wife I was, all of that. And because of that, the record in my head all day long, every day was, you're failing, you're not,
Good enough.
how dare you, not have that done. Your husband's out there working all day and he comes home and, whatever. The dinner's not ready yet, whatever it was. So this one particular day, he came home and we had somewhere we had to be. And I had been homeschooling, all my kids all day, had done a million things. He walked in and he said, "Do I have a pair of socks?" That's what he said. And what he meant was, "Do I have a pair of socks?" What
Go figure.
But he walked in on a day where in my head all day long it had been, you should have had this done, you should have had that done, blah, 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 blah. So when he walked in, what I heard was,
You heard.
"What have you been doing all day?"
No, you heard, "Do I have a pair of socks?" And you internalized, go.
Right. What I say is, do you want to know what I just heard you say? So
I wish Sarah would do that to me. I am not kidding.
It is a really good practice.
Do that.
That is what
Will she watch this?
I don't know, but if
Tell her
she's
tonight.
watching it,
To Karina
do that.
Wilson.
I strongly suggest that we learn how to do that, because what happens is all of my insecurities, all of my things that I'm telling myself, what he said went through that translator. And what I heard was, "What have you been doing all day?" I work all day long in the 100-something degree heat, and I come home, and all I'm asking you for is a stinking pair of socks in my drawer.
Simple. You can't even get it done.
Right, and you can't even do that. What have you been doing all day?
Nothing.
So what I answered to him was, I did not answer, "Do I have a pair of socks?" I answered
The other thing.
the other thing. So I said, "I have been doing stuff all day long. I have done so many loads of laundry. I have done blah, blah, blah with the kids."
I can
No,
just
no,
see
no.
that.
This is important.
Yeah.
Keep going.
I wish I could
And
have, like,
he stood there. If y'all know him, you know this face. Could tickle. As a matter of fact, I wish I could pull it up. I have a picture of him making this face. He was like, stood there like that. And he
Where's
goes,
the socks?
he goes, "But what I was wondering is, do I have a pair of socks?" Like, so it's like, what I heard you say was,
That's
"You're a loser. What have you done all day?" What kind of a wife does not have a pair of socks ready for their husband? And what he said, but what I was saying was, "Do I have a pair of socks?" Like, literally, that's all I need to know. Like, yay or nay.
Thank you for doing all those other things, but all I'm
Right.
asking for at the moment.
Right. And if I do, where are they? Like, that's literally all I want to know.
If I'm allowed to ask the second question,
Right.
where are they?
Right. He was
That's
not
good.
wanting to crush me down as a wife and a mother, and he literally had zero idea that
Sure.
any of that was happening.
Poor Marty.
Poor little
I
baby
love
Marty.
that, man.
But I think
love
it is
Marty.
He
important
gave me
that
my
we
first
all
job.
realize
Yeah.
that because
Same.
of our insecurity can be so loud, and a lot of times what you're saying and what they're hearing, not the same thing.
You know, Marty gave me my first job. I was
I
15
do, and I
years old.
remember that,
It was
and you were just a
weekends because
little-
I was still in school,
Yeah.
So,
My husband worked for him too.
piggybacking off of that,
Go to the hospital.
what they're saying and what you're hearing, if that's confusing to anybody, I'm going to go back to what I said earlier. You should ask them about it. Why are you responding that way? This is what I heard. What do you mean? That is a perfectly logical question. They don't know. How are they going to know
Right.
unless they ask? Sweetheart, how am I supposed to know unless I ask? It's okay to ask questions. Just please ask questions.
Years down the road, we were in a counseling session, and it was actually for me dealing with some things that happened when I was a kid. But Marty said something to me, and Brother Jeff said, "What did you just hear him say?"
Mm-hmm.
And then I said
It's
that I suck as a
eye-opening.
wife,
It really
and the
is.
blah 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 blah, and the look on his face
It's crazy.
of just complete and utter shock, like that he's like, "What are you talking about?"
Yeah.
Yep.
Because so that's a good question.
I
to
used
ask.
to-
What
so-
did you just hear me say?
I
That's
tell
one
Sarah
thing
that all
I'll
the
say.
time. If you don't know, just ask me. If you want to know what I meant by something, ask me. I'll tell you.
Well, I do ask that. Hey, what did you just hear me say?
Yeah.
I
do it
used to
all.
ask
Yeah.
Sarah, I still ask
Smart.
Sarah this for the longest time. I would say, hey, what's for dinner? What I'm saying I'm saying, hey, what's for dinner, right? But what I really mean, this is very feminine of me. What do you want for dinner? Do you have any ideas for dinner? You got any plans for dinner? You know, like, it encompasses all of it. Sarah, on the other hand, is hearing, why isn't dinner made yet?
Right.
I think we were married for like 5 years before she finally figured out that it was just a general question. It doesn't matter. Like, the answer can be anything. I'm not going to be upset. Anyway, I like that a lot. Yeah, ask questions, please.
No, that's a good one. I'll end on this.
Was that our final thoughts?
Yeah, do you have another final
Bro,
thought?
I've got thoughts for days, but please continue.
Well, kind of what on Karina said with the insecurities. My husband and I were having a conversation last night, and he made a joke, and it was funny.
Doubt it.
But I did not hear the humor. I heard, because we were talking about this one couple that goes to our church. I'm like, yeah, this was like us like 10 years ago. It's like looking back into a mirror.
She's talking about me.
Sure. It was like looking back into a mirror 10 years ago. And my husband made the joke. He's like, yeah, but she's actually a nurse. I went to nursing school and I didn't finish. And so I heard that.
You hear her,
And I-
me and you're like, yeah.
Oh, that was tough.
But then I sat there
Look,
and I
her
just,
mouth is open. Hannah's like, how dare him say that?
Yes.
Whereas I'm like, yeah. Good.
my husband never
How
watches
dare
the
him
podcast.
speak
so
the
he-
truth.
Yeah, accurate assessment of the situation.
Right, and I
Right.
know that. Anna, the other Anna knows that. But the sensitive one was like,
They're both
that
sensitive.
was incredibly hurtful. And I just started crying. I was like, I'm not good enough. I can't do blah, blah, blah. And he's like, yeah, see, I have some validation
She's
over
crying
there.
for you.
No.
She's about halfway.
It's okay, Hannah. I'm done with the tears.
Just because you have validation over there doesn't make it truthful.
No, I know it doesn't. And that's what I told my husband. And I said, I know you did not say that to hurt me. Because he's like, I didn't mean that. I said, I know that you did not mean that. I said, but that's what I heard because I'm insecure about not like finishing school. I dropped out because like I hated it. I'm not good at math and science. So yeah, let's do a degree in nursing.
Did you make him apologize or did you apologize to him?
He apologized.
Shameful.
She didn't say make. I
Yeah,
don't think
no,
he
no,
did.
I never make him do anything.
This is my buddy Donovan here.
I love Donovan.
He probably
the
apologized of
best.
his own kindness.
He probably did apologize of his own kindness, but she still didn't apologize for her putting her insecurities on his
Now
shoulders.
she's gonna come home and be like, hey, just to be
We're
clear.
having our talk tonight, so I'll make sure to address it. But yeah, it was just that feeling of just you putting on your own insecurities and putting it through
Hold
that
on.
lens.
You're
Because
also-
that's your record that
you're
you've
putting
been
it on-
listening to for years.
And we have talked about that. And my record is, to give some backstory really quick. I was on a second day at one of my jobs and I was learning to register, but it was at a pharmacy. So I had to like scan a medication and do all this. Like there were multiple steps and I was not grasping it. I was stressed out. When I get
tough,
stressed,
yeah.
I don't do
Yeah.
all the things. So anyway, I was doing that and I was ringing up this man who was addicted to narcotics. So he was already a jerk. So just preface that a little more. So he wasn't the most sensitive, but he was upset that I wasn't going quickly enough. And he goes,
He'd probably been standing in line for 30 minutes.
No, he really hadn't. He had just walked
Allegedly.
up.
He was
And so he walked up and he said that I was incompetent. And that has stuck with me.
That's rude.
Yeah.
That guy was a jerk. That guy was a jerk. You are not incompetent.
Oh,
It still gets me. And that's the thing. It's like, it still hits me. And I know that's not true. But we believe the lies way more than we do the truth. And so when my husband joked about that, I knew he didn't mean it to hurt me. But because of my own insecurities, I took that as a personal attack. And it's like, you just have to understand where the people that you love are coming from.
Of course.
Whenever they say that. But yeah, it's like that is what Karina said is so true, is that still sticks with me.
Yeah. So,
Well,
On-
frick, I didn't want to cry on the podcast.
on next date night, I should not send Donovan 4 incompetent jokes. That will not go well.
I don't like being called an idiot.
Well,
I-
our next date night is Hunter's wedding.
Ben Bowen calls me an idiot every now and then, and
so
it
cute.
makes me want to fight him.
Bowen? Oh, he called you an idiot? He has called me an idiot.
I don't like
12
being called an
times.
idiot by anybody, and I don't know why.
Idiot doesn't bother me.
It bothers me. Don't call me an idiot.
I
don't
didn't
like-
call
I
you
don't-
an idiot.
I'm not,
I'm not
talking about
communicating
you.
that. I said the
I'm
word
just
idiot
speaking
and
in
your name, but I
generalities.
wasn't speaking
Just
to you.
speaking in generalities.
Yes, sir.
I don't like
No,
it.
you heard that. I did not. You can play it back. I love you. I and the podcast, but mostly me, love you.
Oh, thanks. I was not expecting to cry on the
You
internet
didn't cry.
today.
That got edited out.
Sure.
Not done.
I know that wasn't ugly crying.
I was trying to hold back.
Hey, I just want to say very respectfully that you have the prettiest sad face.
Oh, thanks.
Oh, that's so sweet.
It is
That's
so
For
soft
the record,
and
can't do
pretty.
it. That's fair. That was.
That's nice.
Hey, she's gonna
Thank
cry about
you.
that.
All right.
Thank you.
Hey, good episode. I'm done. No, not Mike Freeman, Tim Nichols, Karina Wilson style. Does anyone have any actual last thoughts before we close off?
I guess not.
Hey, thank you guys. Thank you.
Welcome.
You're welcome. Oh, actually, one last thought. Can we put the DISC assessment in the description?
Yes.
So people can take that?
That's the bird thing.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. I've been trying to figure out how that works because Eagle starts with the E, but it doesn't matter right now. Guys,
That's
if
the
you like what you
children's
heard,
version.
or you didn't like what you heard, let us know. You can email us at listenpointtaken@gmail.com, or you can just drop a comment right here. Hey, we do this to bring topics, to discuss them, to have a place for people to do that. But we are listener, not funded because it's
Yeah.
free. It's a ministry of the church. We are listener. That's how we pick our
Church
topics.
funded.
It's for people sending us emails or commenting. So let us know. We got a couple
Listener
more
powered.
episodes in this season, and then we'll do another one. I shouldn't have said that because we'll put these in different order. Anyway,
Who knows?
love you guys. Thank y'all very much. I don't say deuces anymore.
Until next time.
Until next time.
See
Goodbye.
ya.
I feel like I have
If
a lot
I-
of things that are going to make noise.
You do.
You
Hey,
have
who cares?
You jingle